Alrighty. Okay. So yesterday we had started this whole thing of design thinking, right? Creating a repeatable practice. And I then went on to tell you about the 4 stages of innovation, right? As we define it. And what we said was discovery, validation, design, implementation. Everyone goes through that several times a day. You're going from what exactly is the problem I'm solving and for who, right? Then you move on to who's my ideal customer. Like everybody has this pain. Everybody has it, but who has it? Who is feeling it the most, right? That's what we mean by ideal customer. And what does value mean to them? Then we move on to design, where you're trying to answer the question, how do they want me to get this value to them? And then we end up in implementation, which is where we talk about how do we deliver, sustain, and scale the value that we are giving to them. And then we said that this 4-prong framework, you will repeat it over and over and over throughout your innovation journey. In fact, this entire program is designed around these 4 stages. And the goal is to teach you how to master moving through these 4 stages very fast, and the techniques and tools in each of those stages that help you answer these key questions very, very fast. Because again, you already do it at work. You're just not very conscious about it. And you obviously don't have this systemic approach that we're sharing with you. That's why you're here. So then we moved on to say why this is important is because the game of entrepreneurship, whether that is within a corporate, i.e. entrepreneurship, or within your own legal entity entrepreneurship, is like climbing Mount Everest, right? We talked about the gloomy pictures of, dead people on the way to the top. Dead people who were former motivational speakers. You can do it. Every Mount Everest in your life must be leveled. Yay, 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 yay. Not everybody who said that made it to the top. And we said the difference is not about money. It's not about intellect. It's not about motivation. It's really about approach. And 2 particular things we called out. You don't climb straight up. It's not a straight line graph. You have to take a winding route to get to the top and be okay with the fact that you are quite literally seem to be going around in circles at some point, right? The second thing we pointed out is that it's not a feat you attempt to do in one go, right? You would very likely move to the next stage and you cannot proceed from there because of a plethora of things that are not just your inability. It could just be external, weather, acts of God, and you have to either stay there for a while or come back. Basically, the key word there is iterative, right? And then we went on to say that all of this means that there is one thing that is critical for innovators today, and that is the concept of adaptability, right? You want to navigate as uncertainty, your adaptability quotient has to go up to the moon, right? Very fast. So AQ being the new EQ, being the new IQ rather. Jonah, next slide. And so we defined adaptability quotient to be that thing that basically defines your ability to adapt and thrive in an environment of change. I can make that more colorful. I think Fubara asked a question yesterday about chaos, right? Yeah, we're all Africans, and our lives literally we're born into chaos. Because it's kind of like the movie Batman, The Dark Knight Rises, where Batman switches off the light when he's fighting the villain, and the villain goes, ha 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 ha. You think you can beat me with darkness? I was born in the darkness, raised in it. I am one with the darkness. So as Africans, we're like, haha, you think you can defeat me with chaos? I was born in the chaos. I was raised in it. And now I've done the Video Innovation Bootcamp. I have the techniques to navigate the chaos because I'm adaptable, right? That's the gist of this slide. You've got to be adaptable. And and raise your AQ. And then from there, we went on to talk about, to introduce the concept of design thinking. One, not the only one, but one of the most powerful mental models out there, in terms of solving problems that are solving organizedly complex problems in today's world. And we introduced that design thinking, yes, we talked about the process, but we also introduced that design thinking right now has a number of steps, but the one we focused on yesterday was really the first step of empathize. And we had interesting definitions about empathizing, trying to understand what people feel. I think Peace mentioned, somebody else mentioned, actually living in the way they live. So all of you are right. Those are all techniques for empathizing, and we shortlisted them into 3 buckets. You want to empathize, you can either immerse yourself. So you want to solve for pregnant women, and you're a guy, live like a pregnant woman for 1 month, then you start having a sense of what they go through, although they go through that for 9 months. So it's not exactly the same, but it's the closest you will ever be. Or you could watch users in context. So like guinea pigs, just observe their behavior. School of thought says that this might be one of the most accurate because you're not disturbing them and you're not getting them to lie to you, right? Because if you interact with them, there's a potential that human beings lie, right? Steve Jobs always preferred this one, by the way, the third one. You're watching users in context, because Steve Jobs will always say, there's no point for me talking to them. He said, human beings are very illogical and they never know what they need until they see it. So why should I waste my time? Why should I waste my time asking them what they need? They're just gonna, he was the one who was famous by saying, if Henry Ford went to do user surveys and asked people how they want to move around, they would have told him that they wanted faster horses, right? That was Steve Jobs. So he's like, yeah, your surveys are crap. I just have to observe people and I will see all I need to see. And then I will build for the future that they need, not what they want. I kind of subscribe to that a bit. I say, do not give your bosses at the office what they want. There's what they tell you to do. Always push to give them what they need. What they need is almost 100% of the time, it's never things that they're consciously thinking about, but it's deep down inside their heart. Oluchi, how do I know what they need? Stay tuned in our program and you will see techniques of how to glean this. So you get what they, if you give them what they need, you will always give them what they want, right? Plus extra. So you will always exceed expectations. That is why as innovators, the number of years I've done this, everyone who takes this training seriously, automatically for those who are working, there's always a change at work where you quite literally become the highest performer and you look like a magician, right? Your bosses give you work and every time you exceed expectations, not because you are a magician, but because you have the techniques to know what they want and then the tools to then say, okay, if this is what you want, I'm going to give you what you want plus extra, which is what you need. And that's where you make a difference, both as an employee and as an entrepreneur. So absolutely, watching users in context, we need some of those skills. And it's stuff that you pick up a little bit. We don't place a lot of emphasis on this in this training, in this line of training. We're going to focus heavily on colliding with users, right? Interviews and engaging. But as my team knows, we do a lot of watching users in context as well. Like we do both. we do both. In fact, these days we do all 3. Jonah, Jonah recently had to pretend to be an actor, to pretend that he was having a big problem in one of his businesses in a real sales call with sales executives. And I introduced him and Jennifer as outsiders who just happened to be on the call. Please, can you help them? Like, so we had to immerse ourselves and create an immersive experience. But on the background, we were tracking and observing these guys in their context, right? So it's a mix of both in practice, but we're going to teach you how to do the colliding very well. And then we moved on to how all of this leads to this iterative approach of build, measure, learn, build, measure, learn. right? So you're constantly going in with hypotheses, you do experiments, you measure the outcomes you get, and then you learn. One thing I didn't mention yesterday, I did mention hypothesis, but then you see how it says experiment on that build. This is groundbreaking, and this is really the approach that the lean startup methodology brought in. I'll talk about that in a bit, but the whole idea that you need to keep testing. So the approach to bringing a solution to market, whether it's a product or a service, is we've moved away from that context of, oh, I want to build this thing, or I want to create this barbering saloon, people will come. No, we're now at the place where we're like medical doctors. We have a hypothesis. We build the smallest thing that can help us test certain experiments. Now, like I said, prototype, even if it's a sketch, right? Jonah, please also queue up Helix's video. Yeah, I'll probably show that at the end to just inspire people for the upper bootcamp. And so we put something in front of them, but before we put it in front of them, we have what we call experiments. Experiments means, okay, I have a hypothesis that if they engage with this side of my platform, I will see this kind of results. And we literally write pass or fail. If 70% say yes, then this is actually a feature that I should keep. I know it sounds all over the place, but I promise you when we show you our whiteboard for some of the companies that we built, you will see how a recent company we're working on, we had a 205-page go-to-market strategy developed by the team over 6 weeks. But here's the shocking part. Oh, and a complex financial model all the way to valuation. So we know where that company is going to be over the next 5 years. And every single page, every single cell in the financial model, we take it as hypothesis. We pulled out everything, put it on sticky notes. Quite literally, you do this, you have at least 700 to 1,000 sticky notes, hypotheses, right? And for each sticky note, for each assumption we've made, for example, we believe that people will pay, X amount, $20 per month on this. What is the experiment we're going to take? Go and engage 200 plus people. What is the pass or fail? If 70% of them say that price, they are willing to pay that and more, then this feature stays. See? So that's how it works in practice. For an innovator, that's your dashboard. To the people outside, it looks like you're building a venture. But for you, you're just really testing hypotheses. Let me give you another example. Company, one of our companies a few years ago was trying to bring a solution. You're going to hear more about that in a later time. And solution in Nigeria for cooking. And we had hypotheses, a lot of it. I think that's like a 170-page go-to-market strategy. And we pulled out all the hypotheses, put it up there. And it cuts across everything, cuts across what the customers want, what type of partnerships we should get, what kind of pricing point, what kind of cost, right? Everything in the business is a hypothesis until we validate with real humans. So for the partnership piece, we kind of figured if we want to bring this into the market for the bottom of the pyramid people, they cannot afford it. So we figured that we would need a microfinance bank to partner with us and make it affordable so that we can sell it on a buy now, pay later basis. But I don't want to chase for repayments. I've done that in my past life, not interested in doing it again, especially from Nigerians. Oh my God. I once had someone look at my team in a market in Abuja. They didn't know we're the ones running repayment for the whole country. And they said, God will punish whoever is sending us those messages, everyone. I don't want God to punish me. So I don't want to be a debt collector in any of my ventures. So we said, let's work with a microfinance bank that can extend that buy now, pay later facility. We just go give our products, we get our money from the bank, and then you owe the bank for whatever number of years. So our hypothesis was, again, we can make this thing affordable for this target segment, right? By partnering with microfinance banks. The experiment was go in the next 90 days, go and engage 4 microfinance banks and test the value proposition to them. The pass or fail was if at least 25% of them, which is one, sees value in this enough to sign an LOI with us, then this is a part of the business model we keep. We signed our first LOI with one of the largest microfinance banks in Nigeria in 30 days. So we validated that hypothesis in 30 days, but we gave it a time frame of 90. So you see, when we give the announcement, oh, we just signed with this bank, everyone's like, oh my God, you guys are building ventures very fast. But in reality, how it works in the background is it's just a hypothesis that we went to test. See, that's what I was saying yesterday about there's no such thing as failure. Because if in 90 days we didn't sign with at least 1 out of 4, then guess what? That hypothesis failed, right? It means that the microfinance bank type of partnership is not good for this. Let's go do something else. Make sense? So that's the whole concept of the build, learn, measure, thingy. And then back to Everest, which is our favorite image. Please take a screenshot and put this as your desktop background for motivation. Yeah, so Nene is rolling her eyes. Why would I want Everest to be my motivation? Please, I don't want Everest. I want a Ferrari to be the thing that motivates me. Sorry to tell you, Nene, before you get the Ferrari is on the other side of Everest. Yeah, so you got to make it across first. Okay, so today, what we're going to do is do a deep dive, and Jonah, go to slide 40. We're going to do a deep dive into preparing you to engage in customer discovery. So all of that stuff I just said, have your hypotheses, your questions, so that you know what pass or fail is, and then you go talk to real human beings here. How do you get to do that? 41 says, if you want to know the problems that are worth solving, remember discovery, that big piece, right? Where we said we are. As we've analyzed yesterday, next slide, please. As we've analyzed yesterday, you want to use empathy to uncover opportunities to innovate, right? And what do we mean by empathy, right? 42. What this basically means is that you want to remove your biases, your assumptions, right? Remember what we said empathy is. Ultimately, you want to know that you understand the pain that these people are facing. And the only way to understand it is not you telling me. I look at a lot of pitch decks and I get, entrepreneurs pitch to me all the time. I do mentoring sessions with career professionals asking me how to navigate issues at work. And the most common thing that I see all the time is what the psychologists will say, cognitive bias, all right? Where we don't realize when we're projecting our own biases and assumptions on others. I see it with entrepreneurs, I see it with staff, and I just laugh. I'm like, so for example, I know everybody's going to love this app because my team spent days building it and we did a lot of research online, therefore they must love it. Or B, they must need the app because when I used to work at a bank, I always wished that an app like this existed. And 2 of my bank colleagues agreed with me. So we spent the last 6 months building the app. There must be other bankers that need it. Cognitive bias, where one of the types of cognitive bias is reinforcement, where we look for subtle cues to reinforce a prior position that we already had. That is one of the most horrible things you can do on your innovation journey. How do I see it at work? Yeah, I don't know about my boss, or I don't know about my colleague. My colleague just doesn't like me because I think that they're jealous. Why do you think they're jealous? Because I've been killing it in all of my projects and they haven't been getting as much praise, so that's why they're making life difficult for me. You've made so much assumptions in this statement. You might be right. And if you're African, you probably grew up hearing one of the things that I'm about to say now. The average African will tell you, no, what I'm saying is the truth. It's the truth. No, honey, it's not the truth. It's your assumption. Or there's something that Nigerians love to say. The fact is, or the truth of the matter, what do you say? It's your assumption. I hope that after today's session, you're going to delete all of these things and also catch yourself when you're saying it. The truth is, everybody wants this. No, it is your assumption. The fact is, no, it is your assumption. The way I put it, to my team and everyone that I mentor. In God I trust. Every other human being, including my mother, must bring data. If you don't show up with data, I'm sorry, I cannot take you seriously. I just hear everything I hear, and like I empathize with you that you really believe that's true. But if you don't have the data to back it up, then you're just using assumptions. And one of the craziest ways to lead your career, whether in the corporate or entrepreneurial, is running with assumptions. I cannot tell you how many staff I have supervised that would have assumptions in their own mind and build on it, regurgitate, and just like build a whole universe around it. Assumptions of me, of my motivations for them, right? The plans my company has for them. And in all of this, not once did they have a conversation with me. They're like, but it must be. Why else did he say this? Why else did he send that? Well, and me, I'm sitting here sipping my tea, right? And someone is running on assumptions. So let's take this out of today's session that listen, as an innovator, you gotta always catch yourself. You have assumptions. And this cuts across not just in working space or in business, even your relationships with parents, siblings, everything. Stop running with assumptions, right? It's good to have the assumptions, recognize they are, but have a plan and a method to go and test the assumption. Is it valid or not? If it is valid, yay, you now have a fact. All right. So today's bootcamp is really around understanding your customer journey, right? And the customer here, if you're in the corporate, we're not just talking about people giving you revenue. If you're in the corporate, your customer is your boss, right? Your customer is whoever you have to sell this idea to, right? So understanding your customer's journey and their jobs to be done, what they're trying to achieve in their life, and the pain points that they face so that you can see opportunities to innovate. And remember, the definition of innovation is value delivery, opportunities to give value. Why did I say all of this? Oh, one more slide, right? So understanding the current reality and spotting opportunities to improve, right? That's the customer journey, which I'm going to introduce in a bit. But the reason I took time to explain this is because, slide 44, is because it looks like I'm exaggerating when I say assumptions will kill you. It will kill your career. It will kill your venture. It looks like I'm exaggerating, or because I'm talking to young innovators. I want to show you in a few minutes how assumptions is literally a big problem, even in the largest companies in the world. How many of you have been following the fiasco that's been happening the last few weeks, ever since last month, with the company called Jaguar, the car company? How many of you saw the Jaguar ad, 30 seconds, that just blew up the internet and everyone was like, what the hell is this? Yeah. Okay. If you have not seen it, you're going to watch it now. 30 seconds. We're going to come back and have a conversation. Here is an example of a legendary car company that made massive assumptions and packed hundreds of millions of dollars into a 30 seconds ad. For whatever reason, that ad was approved from the board to the, well, maybe not the board, but the CEO all the way down, 30 seconds. And that ad has broken the internet over the last few weeks. Not just broken the internet in a good way. A lot of customers have left Jaguar, and even a petition is being signed for their CEO to be fired for a 30 seconds ad. Jonah, please play. And then we'll come and have a conversation. Afterwards, we will look at the inverse of that happened 10 days later, where their competitors, Volvo, were like, let's not be like Jaguar. Let's do something else. And then we'll have a conversation about that. Assumptions. Jonah? Oh, my name is Jonah, and I'm playing a video. You just can't see it or hear it. Oh, this video is really, really good. I wish you could watch it right now. Oh, look what he did. All right, okay. Jonah, you should. Okay, there you go. Finally. Okay. Do we have sound? Okay, 30 seconds. Please pay attention. It moves by very fast. Jonah, no sound. No sound, sir. You want to take it out and bring it back in. We apologize for the technical difficulties. The team will be back in 5, 4, 3, 2. So can you start the video again because you're finished? All right, let's go. This is a car company, huh? Remember that. The end. Right. Let's have a conversation. That's the car company, the famous car company, Jaguar. They've been saying that they were for the last few years that they're rebranding. They're coming up with something big. They spent millions of dollars and they pushed out that ad. What are your thoughts? And please, if you're on this call and you don't have your cameras on, I think we've tried. Please turn on your cameras. Thank you very much. So what are your thoughts? Those of you that are car buffs, what do you think about what you just watched?
Well, for starters, I think that the ad was, when I saw it initially, it didn't sit right with me at all. Like, I need to see, show me an interior, show me the engine, tell me about the engine power, tell me things about the car. I'm not here to see fashion ad. Like, I didn't just get it. It was weird.
So it looked more like a fashion ad, like they just got models, right?
Yes.
And spoiler alert, half of those people were from the LGBTQ community. So some of those people were guys.
That's the thing.
Right?
It was just.
Uh-huh.
I
Okay,
had
so it seemed more like a fashion ad. Thank you, Roland. Peace Adewale.
Yeah, so for me, I first of all I thought it was a display of different colors that they have, or possibly added colors for the car. But afterwards, I didn't really even get it because it wasn't really making sense. I want to see what the car can do. I want to see the new features added to the car.
Yep.
I want to see what has changed from what it was to what it is. But there was no
Yeah.
replication or representation of those functions. It didn't really make sense. It's more like a fashion, you know, maybe a fashion person could kind of like this dress and make a replication, but not really for what I thought.
Interesting. So Peace says it was very colorful, very colorful, and lots of lots of saying a lot of things without saying anything about the car, right? And so very confusing about what you're even trying to communicate. Interesting. Knowing very well that marketing has only one job, right? Communicate it. And Peace is saying they did not communicate, even though they spent millions. That's rather interesting. Mubara, thanks for that piece. What did you think?
Okay, in addition to what has been said, because part of what I wanted to see was like he didn't show the features and all of it. And over time, people get used to maybe when you have a car ad, you're seeing a very powerful man with a very beautiful ladies, and they're showing you the car and the speed and all of it. For me, something else I also stood out is the timing was wrong. If the Democrat had won this election, the outrage would not have been as strong as it is right now. But with Trump winning the election, the silent majority are speaking, and they are the ones really causing all the trouble for Jaguar. That's my own perception.
Very, very interesting perspective you bring. So you're saying that part of the issue here was timing. It's not even about the Like if you had done this a few years ago where everyone was woke, right? Where LGBTQ was cool, right? It might be fantastic. But in a world where literally you drop this ad 2 weeks after over 70% of Americans voted to bring in a Republican president who says, primarily, I'm going to end this LGBTQ wokeness thing, which means that most of Americans right now do not want this, right? So you're adding an extra dimension with this, the context that you innovate in. And remember, we talked about that yesterday. The context is very important. And some of the frameworks we'll teach you in the design bootcamp is how to understand quickly the macro context, right? The macro context, the competitive landscape before you do a thing, because just going against your macro context can literally kill you no matter how much budget you spend. Even before we talk about the features like Peace and Roland have talked about, right? So that's a really good one. Now, this is weird. If you, not all of you have spoken, but if you thought that this ad was great and whoa, you're pumped to make money to go buy a Jaguar, please give a thumbs up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, nobody. Flip side, if you thought that this ad was confusing, and even if you had all the money in the world, just based on this ad, you will not buy a Jaguar, please give a thumbs up. The whole class. Okay. I think the verdict is in. John, I should take a screenshot as and add your voice to the people that are bashing Jaguar right now. Fun fact, Jaguar is sliding. My hypothesis is one of two things is going to happen within the next 9 months. A, if they retain the current CEO and chief marketing officer, I've done my research. It is the chief marketing officer who is woke, right? Very, very woke. And I've seen speeches of him. He spends 3/4 of his time talking about diversity, inclusion, and how everyone's just happy and bring their best authentic self to work. It's basically like a fraternity and not a car company anymore. If they retain those guys in the next 9 months, my hypothesis is one of two things will happen. Jaguar is either going to go bankrupt, because this is not the first time we're seeing this, or the second thing that will happen is that on the journey to get bankrupt, the board is going to sit and fire the CEO. They will bring in another CEO who is going to fire the chief marketing officer and everybody in that team, and he's going to shift away from that. So it's one of those two things. There's a case study on Bud Light, the beer company that did exactly this a few years ago. They've gone bankrupt. Jaguar is not going to be different. Okay, so now 10 days after whatever the heck that was, Volvo, I'm convinced that Volvo did not have plans to put out an ad, but they saw that thing and they were like, our competitor is sliding down. How do we ride this wave, right? We're going to watch Volvo's ad. It's broken the internet as well, and it is selling like wildfire. Volvo's revenues have peaked over the last 10 days. It has been insane. And for a car company, this ad is 3 minutes, 40 seconds, which is the longest car ad in modern history. But I promise you it's going to be the best 3 minutes you've had this week. Jonah, let's go.
Hey.
Hey. Okay?
Yeah. Well,
Hey, love.
Hey, Mom.
How are you guys? How you doing?
Yeah, we're good.
Something wrong?
No, but we've actually got something to tell you. Kate's pregnant.
Oh, Andy, you're joking.
You're gonna be a grandma.
Oh my God. How does it feel?
I'm scared, Mom.
Why are you scared?
About it all, you know. The nights, the responsibility. Like, we're gonna need a bigger place.
Help with all that.
I know. Bless you. You're so sweet. I've got this feeling that we're gonna have a daughter. Just as stubborn as her mum.
Oh, hopefully not. The family's large.
Now that's a legacy she might have to live with. She might be the reason we tied a knot.
What if I don't do good in class?
I just want to say and do the right things, you know? I want to see the world with her. I'll also be happy staying home, doing nothing, letting her be a kid.
Are you awake?
Number 32.
Thank you.
I want to see her fall in love. But I also know what that means. And I know she's gonna bend the rules just like I did. And one day, I'll have to let her go. I'm excited to hear what she learns about the world, herself, what she adores, what she hates. I hope she likes the name we give her.
Have you thought of any?
It all depends. We like Leia.
Right. Thank you very much for that, Jonah. Again, let's hear this. What do you guys think about that card? Go for
I'm about to go buy a Volvo.
it. Full stop. Full stop. You're about to go buy a Volvo. For me, when I saw it, I was about to cry. I don't even know why I'm crying about a car ad, right? What do you guys think? Somebody else? Yeah, Fubara?
This is a complete opposite of the nonsense Jaguar put out. This is celebrating family values, building the society, our dreams, actualization of our dreams, and all of it. It resonates more with our daily lives, and people can identify with what is happening and how the car comes into your everyday life. So it's just, and it's very emotional. It's telling a story. It's not just having random people just jump around. It's telling a story, showing a pain point, and then people can just relate with it.
Love it. Thanks a lot for that, Fubara. You could tell the values that they're trying to pass across. You could tell the movement that they're trying to push, right? Beautiful. Anybody else? I see comments in the chat. Gift says she wants to start a family now. Please go for it. As a father of one and expecting father of a second, it's the best thing that would ever happen to you. Kids are a blessing. P says very emotional. I could feel connection with her. Absolutely. Ruth?
I now understand why market people in marketing they just hack your brain. They just hack my brain. And I'm like I'm kind of mad now because I was really emotional. I was about to cry for no reason. Yeah.
Love it.
Marketing at its best. That's all I can say. If I had the money now, I would be buying both the husband, the wife, the husband, the children, and the car. Like me.
Love it, love it. Thanks for that, Ruth. She says marketing people hack their brain. Hack your brain. Spoiler alert: at the end of this Braindoor Innovation Bootcamp, that's the minimum kind of communication material that we expect you guys to be putting out there. Because everything you saw there was not magic. There was actually a science that they followed. And you're about to learn at least the beginning steps of that science today. Yeah. And then to be fair to Jaguar, and this is how I close this segment, because it sounds like we've just bashed Jaguar. But do you notice? It's interesting how Peace is saying they made the car feel part of the family. I felt a connection with the car. Peace is obviously a car guy. Roland is also a car guy. Roland says he wants to buy a Volvo. But did you notice that both those ads, remember when I showed you the Volvo one and I asked what was the problem? Our car people in the group said they did not show me the car and interior and features and all. But the Volvo ad also did not show you too much of the car, interior and all. So they did the same thing that Jaguar did. A car company marketing a car and is not showing you the features of the car. I wanted to call that out because remember when I told you that the world has changed? This is now the new norm. Where you want to push your idea, you want to push your stuff. It's not even about the features anymore. It's about the emotional connection that you can create to rally people around your idea. Through your understanding of your customers, their jobs to be done, and what makes them emotional. Today, tap into that. You never even have to mention anything about your product or your service. And Roland wants to go buy a car. He doesn't know how fast it is, how big it is, what size of the engine is, but he wants to buy it. The game has changed. In those days, you have to show all of these features to convince someone like Roland. Now you don't even have to show the features. You just have to connect with his heart. Very, very interesting, right? It's very relatable with what people love. Thank you for that, Folusho, right? Now, to be fair to Jaguar, this is now my second point. You can tell, as Fubara said, that Volvo was targeting a particular audience, right? People that care about family values and all. I do not think that the people at Jaguar were stupid. If anything, I think they're just as good as Volvo. They also are targeting a particular audience, and they did it very well. The only problem, you see the poll that I took earlier where all of you said it was a horrible ad, that's because you're not the audience they were targeting. There's a group of people that we're targeting who've been blowing up and actually buying Jaguar cars right now. Who do you think they were targeting with their ad? What do you guys think? Agi?
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Hi, Mike.
I think that from the Jaguar ad, they are trying to be in the front line of diversity, because this being woke thing is something that is coming up. So they wanted to use that ad was also to show that it was also to bring up this subject of diversity, and they were targeting people that are woke. People, the he, she, and man, she, them, cats, all of them, that category, those were the people that they were looking out for. And they're also trying to be in the front line of, yeah, we see you, we hear you, and all that. The woke
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Thank you so much for that. So basically, diversity, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, which these days is also very synonymous to, be more tolerant of the LGBTQ plus community, pretty much, right? So I would say that there are two main groups of people that Jaguar was targeting. Volvo also targeted one of those two groups, but you cannot tell directly. So who are the two main groups? The first layer for Jaguar was the LGBTQI, but the second in terms of demographics was the younger millennials and mostly Gen Zs. How do I know this? Following that ad, a lot of research has been brought to the fore that Jaguar is placing a bet. The people who used to buy Jaguars over the last few decades were your grandparents and all, and they're now dying out. The people who are now becoming middle income of a lot of countries around the world, Africa inclusive, are, well, younger millennials like myself. We're even living we're living that space, but we're still in the middle income brackets. But you now have Gen Zs and Gen Xs in the working, and they're earning, and they're a lot, right? The average age in Africa, for example, is 19.5 years old. So you can imagine there's a healthy number of Gen Zs right now that are earning money. And why is it that all of you, how do you tell that they're targeting Gen Zs? Fact, because there's overwhelming research. And as an employer, I've seen this over the last how many years, hiring young people, that the game has shifted for what is the jobs to be done and motivation of Gen Zs or younger millennials down Gen Z, Gen X. It's now less about functionality and more about vibe and values, right? So it's like, I will resonate with a brand that is in line with my values and also makes me feel good. Even if the feeling good might not be functional, but I will go with the vibe because life is too stressful. This is the reason why apps like Snapchat, YouTube, and all have shorts where you're switching between videos that are disconnected to each other. They have nothing to do with each other, but you're on that app for a long time because of the feel-good effect, the placebo effect. That's the generation. It was less about the functionality of the, it was, oh my God, the colors are cool. Oh my gosh, I love her dress. Oh my gosh, the vibes are great. Oh my gosh, I want to identify with this brand. So Gen Zs, young millennials, Gen Zs, and then on top of that, as Maggie said, the further sub-segments that, appreciate the wokeness. If you go do the research, those are the people online right now forming an entire army fighting in favor of Jaguar. So they're very good at what they did and they targeted very well. But the argument from people like us that understand exactly what that is that Jaguar has placed a bet. It's not that they did rubbish. No, they just did rubbish for you. But they've placed a huge bet on their future, right? They've done their targeting. They've done their understanding of their customer. They've done their customer's journey and pain points. And they've decided that this is the segment they want to build their future on. And we're praying for them that they place the right bet. I think they may not have placed the right bet because, wait for it, the young millennials and Gen Zs who they are placing their bets on, do they have the kind of money to buy a Jaguar? That's where it all falls apart, right? So unless Jaguar is coming up with a model next year that is dirt cheap, cheaper than a Tesla, right? It's dirt cheap that all of us on this call can afford it if we pay in installments for 24 months. Unless they're coming up with that, the people that they're targeting may not have it. And the flip side is the people who have that money, older millennials up to the older generation, they really don't care about the values kind of thing. They care about functionality. So Jaguar has just excluded. Now, here's the point I'm getting at. They made an executive decision to reposition and target a certain demography that is coming up very fast. And over the next 50 years, that is going to be the demography driving the economy. So they were right. Okay, but in making that decision, they went all in for that target segment and forgot about their current customer base. So what is the result here? It's being termed as a massive failure by marketing experts because of the numbers. Number one, your new customers, like the people on this call, are not interested to buy. Okay, so marketing 101. Very weird. Only your tiny segment who might not even have the money are making noise for you. Number two, your marketing campaign is bad when you not only acquire new customers, but your existing customers right now are selling their Jaguar cars because they don't want to be identified with you anymore. Yeah. So I wanted to explain that to show you how people sat in a room, took hundreds of millions of dollars, made assumptions about what our future can look like, but clearly did not follow the frameworks that we're going to teach you here properly to show the unintended consequence that in going all out for this new group of people that may or may not have the money, we're going to lose our current people. That's Jaguar. Volvo saw everything I just said, and they were honest with themselves. In your life, please raise your hand if you have an uncle, a granddad, a dad who had a Volvo when you were growing up. Me. Right? So Volvo was like, look, we don't want to alienate guys that have been with us for the last 5 decades, right? In fact, we want them to feel so proud about the fact that they kept their Volvo and pass this on to their children. So if that's what we want to do, then let's come out with an ad that speaks to the values of that generation while transitioning it to the current generation. So I believe that Volvo targeted the same demographic, young millennials and Gen Zs that care about values. I will connect with you if you connect with my values. However, they did it in such a way that they did not alienate their current customer base, your grandpa, your uncle, your dad, and all. In fact, that ad is making your dad, your uncle, everybody gather around and say, you see, that's why, I kept my Volvo right from when we were in primary school to university, and the kids are like, wow, I also want to get a Volvo as well. Masterclass. So they've brought in a thing that is getting a new audience and empowering their current customer base to even convert more of the younger generation who care about values. Same thing with Jaguar. That's what Jaguar wanted, but took it from a different approach. So I wanted to show you these two things to say what I said in the previous slide and what I'm about to say in the next slide, Jonah, next slide, is not theory. This was literally last month, and I have so many of these types of case studies because I follow this every other week. It's happening even in the biggest companies in the world, right? And so as an innovator, you cannot tell me that you want to solve problems in your office or you want to solve problems through your venture and you don't understand the science of what you just saw happen in Jaguar and Volvo. It is my hope that after this series of trainings, this bootcamp, you will be a master at understanding the science behind this thing. So when you see those videos, you're not just moving based on emotions, you're decoding it down to the back-end science that got you to that place, like Ruth said, where you wanted to cry. Okay? And the foundation of this science is what we call the customer journey. Now, you've done a bit of this in your discipline entrepreneurship, so you kind of know what I'm saying. I'm just going to wrap it up here, which is the customer journey is two things. The customer journey basically refers to what is the journey that your customer goes through from the time they believe they have a pain to the time they actually get their job done. What is the entire journey they go through? You need to know every step of that journey. You need to know how they feel across every step of that journey so that you can design interventions, whether it's marketing communications interventions or features in your solution to take them from sad to happy every step of that journey. The science says that if I can make them happy every step of that journey, they will not only buy my product, but they will use it to the point of referring it to friends. That is what you've seen in those videos. Did you notice how for the Jaguar advert, most of the feedback was, I cannot see the interior and meaning I don't see enough to let me know how to use it, right? Why will I buy it? But for Volvo, they did something, and the first thing Roland said was, I will buy it. So they've just moved Roland across the buying journey fast. When he woke up this morning, he didn't think about wanting to buy a Volvo. I mean, I'm sure if you ask Roland, he probably is saving money to buy a Lamborghini. All of a sudden, now he wants to buy a Volvo. So they've done something on the buyer journey without even explaining details about the user journey. This is the power of the customer journey and mastering it. Okay? The buyer journey plus the user journey is your customer journey. Jonah, next slide. This is just a quick template that you guys are absolutely going to work on for your teams over the next few days. I don't know if you can zoom in. We love to use this template because it just cuts through all the fluff, right? Do not focus so much on the template. I will zoom in. We'll zoom in a bit, but the columns of what you're seeing. What is the buyer journey? The buyer journey depends on what you've done. Actually, Let me ask it. Who knows what the, well, Jonah is already showing his screen. So never mind, I'm not gonna ask the question again. But if you've been trained in marketing, if you've done a bit of marketing communications, or if you've worked in that space, then you kind of understand the buyer journey. This framework, customer journey, is your most important framework as an innovator. It's going to come up over and over. Even if you're building rockets to send them to Mars, you're always going to take human beings through a buyer journey and a user journey. The person who asked me yesterday, are they generic hypotheses? And I said, no, but they're generic frameworks. This is what I meant. All right. So you must master this. For the buyer journey, what we're talking about is the fact that every human being goes through 4 stages before they buy a product. The way I assess marketing or sales teams or even ads these days, I look at how fast they're able to take someone from the first stage to the 4th phase, and then I know they're good. Just like I know that the team at Volvo are good. Again, they took Roland through these 4 stages in 3 minutes, 40 seconds. Your average African marketing team will take many weeks to achieve what they've achieved with 3 minutes, 40 seconds video. To get Roland to the place where he's willing to buy, you'll probably give an ad first, then say, come to our showroom, and then they'll tell him to drive the car for a bit, and then he will say, let me think about it. Then he'll come back and negotiate. Then they'll say, we'll give you discounts, all of that stuff. Now Roland just said, I want to buy. He doesn't even know the price. It's like, whatever the price is, I will buy. That is insane. That is where the world is now, guys. How can you go from awareness to action fast? Volvo, 3 minutes, 40 seconds. Awareness basically says, this is when your potential customer is even just waking up to the fact that I have a problem. I have a problem. So let's use a real example. Cars, right? What is the jobs to be done here? The jobs to be done is not to buy a car. The jobs to be done is to be able to move around faster, right? To commute faster. That's what your target customer wants to do. Okay. So how does the buying journey work? The day the person wakes up and says, my gosh, I'm having a problem moving around in this city. That's awareness phase. And the science says that every product or service, people go through this process before they buy. They wake up and say, I have a problem. They don't know what their solution is. I want to move around and I'm really having a problem moving around the city. Then they move on to the interest phase, which is now I am interested to solve my problem. Like I can't take this anymore. The bus transport system is crappy. I have missed 9 meetings in the last 1 month. Enough. I must solve this problem. Interested in solving that problem. They still don't know what the solution is. They do not know if the solution is to buy a car or to buy a bicycle or to buy a motorbike, right? Or heck, to go and take boats. They don't know. But they just know that my job's to be done, moving around seamlessly and not missing my meetings because of transportation. I need to solve it this month. That's interest phase. From there, they move over to desire, or some people will say decision phase, right? And in decision phase, what they're saying is, now that I'm interested to solve my problem, what are my options out there? At this point, they're comparing different options side by side. So they're comparing, it could be comparing cars with getting a motorbike, with getting, I don't know, a private driver that just shows up, right? With taking alternate transportation, the train or boats. They're comparing, or they could be comparing. They could have woken up and said in desire phase, I know I want a car, but now they're comparing between a Jaguar and a Volvo, and a BMW, or a Toyota Corolla. It could be that as well. The point is, in desire phase, they're comparing between different options of a solution to help them get their jobs to be done, which was moving around seamlessly so that I do not miss meetings. And then in action phase, they're going, I have now decided to take this solution, a Jaguar or a Volvo. So I need to take an action. And the action there says, it says, I need to take an action for it to be mine. I want to acquire it. So this is all about the process of, okay, how much is it? How do I pay? How do I take ownership of it? It's all of those logistics. Now, this is the first main problem of innovators when trying to bring an idea to life. You will always have to go through, you always have to take people through these 4 stages. And if you're not a master at it, you will fail. Because the game is this: you always have to predict and be 5 steps ahead. For my target customer, and again, even if you're a corporate innovator, this is even what you have to do for your bosses. You have to do for your colleagues, even people that report to you. I was telling my team, Jonah, the other day, that a lot of people don't know that in the office, the best staff are entrepreneurs. Why? Because they understand this buyer journey. They're always selling the ideas. My boss gives me a thing, I'm taking him from awareness to interest to desire to action without him even realizing very fast. I want to get my colleagues to jump on my stuff. I'm taking them from awareness where they don't even know what I'm working on to now they're interested to know, and then they're comparing my solutions with BI. Before they knew it, they're taking the action that I want. You're constantly doing this at work. So if you master this, you will be unstoppable. And what you're saying is, in awareness, since I know what my target customer wants to do, what is it? Where is it that they go when they're in awareness? First of all, what emotion do they have when they're in awareness? Are they confused? Are they anxious? Are they happy? Are they whatever today? Okay, how do I make them happy? So where do they go to solve that emotion, that pain, when they're in awareness phase? Wherever they go, I want to influence it. So for the car, oh my gosh, I need to solve this crap today, right? I am tired of missing meetings and all. I'm in awareness phase. The question is your target customer segment, where do they go when they realize they have that pain in awareness? Wherever they go, you want to make sure that you're influencing where they get the information from, right? So, and it's different for different segments. If it's my mother would not go on Google. So if you like spend all your money on Google ads and all of the stuff that a lot of digital marketers like to bill me for, when I see that in proposals, I just laugh because I'm like, you really don't understand the buyer journey or my customer segment, right? My mother will not go on Google. When she realizes she has that pain and she wants to move around, who does she call? One of her 4 children that she has trained over the years. My son, traffic in this city. I'm like, oh, mommy, you know, the other day I missed 9 minutes. She's not asking me for a car, but she's telling me her pain. Go figure. Go figure, right? So, as a car manufacturer who's tasked with selling that car, you better know that if my mother is your ideal customer persona, then you had better know her son, where does he get his influences from, and go and be there. So you're starting your journey not even dealing with my mother, you're starting your journey with me. Right? Because whatever I tell her right now is going to either nudge her towards your product or not. So where does Oluchi hang out? Where does he get his influences from when it comes to things like cars and all? Again, you have to look at Oluchi's persona. I don't typically go Google for cars. I have a cousin who knows a lot about cars. I'll probably just call him and say, hey, what car do you recommend for my mother, this age, yada, 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 right? Give me your thoughts. So where does our cousin get his stuff from? Oh, he's on the streets. He's working with dealers and all. So you seep your brochures and everything through that channel so that Oluchi has the information he has. And if you miss it in awareness, no matter what you do in decision and action, you failed. You are not going to run a successful campaign. So you see how a lot of entrepreneurs fail before they even show up with their marketing ads and their collateral to post online. This is why your campaigns are so difficult to convert. But if you master awareness, okay, I'm going to say this later. If you master awareness, you can achieve you can acquire customers faster with lesser resources. That's the point, right? Innovation, doing more with less. So interest, my mom is now interested to solve her thing. Where does she go? Where does she go? So if she's interested to get she doesn't know it's a car, she will now call my auntie. Hey, when you and your husband had this issue, what options did you look at? Should I be thinking about a bike? And they're like, at your age, how can you think about a bike? Should I be like, what should I be doing? Can this thing be solved? The key question there is, can it be solved? Once they get the comfort that yes, it can be solved, there is a world where you can live in this town without ever missing meetings. She's out of interest phase. She's now in desire/action. Now I want to decision rather, desire/decision. She's now in there saying, okay, now I know that it can be solved. What are my options? In decision, the critical thing that she's trying to ascertain is she's trying to use a decision-making framework to pick one. See, in the interest phase, she's trying to get to the place, the comfort of this thing can be solved. Wherever she goes to get that comfort, as a marketer, you need to be there. In decision slash, yes, thank you, better. In decision, DECI, Jonah. In decision phase, she's trying to analyze different options with a decision-making framework. Guys, the work of an innovator is to predict what her decision-making framework is so that you can influence it. Decision phase is the first time she will likely come in contact with your product. It's not in awareness, it's not in interest, it's in decision. Decision is the first time your product is being benchmarked against, or your service is being benchmarked against other alternatives. So you need to know what's important to her. Is it color, affordability, space, fuel economy? You have to have that scorecard and understand what she wants to score in each of those scorecards so that you can position your product in a way that it meets 100% of what she needs and she will choose you. I cannot tell you how many times I see teams creating products and they're just like, everybody will like it because why? And then I ask, what's your customer segment? And you're talking about people whose decision-making framework is in direct opposite of the features you've put in your product. And you're praying to God that they will choose you over your competitors. Why? Because you spent thousands of hours building it. Nope. You see what we said about Jaguar and Volvo. They've done this thing. They know that the Gen Zs and whatever will choose the Jaguar. But nobody on this call will choose it because your decision-making framework for Peace and Roland, it was interiors and all of that stuff. For some of you, it's affordability. They didn't answer any of those questions because you're not. Your decision-making framework is not the same as your target customer. So being able to position this thing to your target customer is the game changer. And then by action, I've seen quite a number of sales funnel drop off at decision phase. She's chosen your product. Okay, now how does she take an action? Jonah will tell you years ago when we were running some training programs, coaching programs, man, the place we had the biggest headache was in action. Like people are like, I want to now pay. But there was one slight problem. We're getting recruitment, we're getting attendees from Uganda, Kenya, and all, and we didn't know how they should pay because our bank account was in Nigeria, and that was when the central bank was banning foreign inflow. It was crazy. How do we get money from people, right? I had to activate a friend of mine in Uganda to collect money in her personal mobile wallet for my company program, and they settled her after the program. For some people, they just went through the program for free, and Jonah was chasing for payment for 4 months after the program. We didn't think through the action phase. For a lot of people, they will drop off. If they prefer to pay through bank transfer and you're telling them to put a card online and pay, they walk away because they don't want to put their card online, right? If you're asking them to do a wallet transfer, they don't have a wallet. They don't even know how to operate a mobile phone. So you need to know my target customer, what's their preference? Remember, hypothesis, right? And go validate it. So that's the game. That's the buyer journey, right? It's fun fact. If you are in marketing, then you recognize most of what I just said. Taking someone from awareness to interest and decision is what you call marketing. So Jonah, please update this view and have marketing up there. That's what all your marketing firms do or are supposed to be doing. Going from awareness to interest to decision. Now, taking somebody from decision to action is what you call conversion or sales. Ta-da! If you ask the average marketer, they will tell you that we spend a lot of money like doing campaigns and getting you leads, Oluchi. Taking people from prospects to good quality leads so that you can convert, do that decision to action phase. We are not a sales team, we're a marketing team. The more I grew in this innovation work, the more I've come to the place where I don't give a damn anymore. Pardon my French. Because as an innovator, I don't know which one is marketing or sales. All I know is awareness to action. So if I hire you, take people from awareness till I have cash in bank, or your job is not done. I do not care whether you use Facebook ads or whether you emotionally blackmail people. Get it to action. This is the whole point. Now, here's the beautiful part of this story. If you master the buying journey, if you master what is the questions that people are asking in each phase, what is the pain they're feeling in getting answers to those questions, and you decide to design your interventions to make them happy in each phase, you will find out one important thing. You can actually get more sales at less cost if you're an entrepreneur. You can actually do it. You don't believe me? How many people have seen an advert for a Tesla? If you've ever watched a Tesla advert before, please raise your hand. Exactly, because it doesn't exist. Up until last year, do you know how much Elon Musk has spent on marketing? 0. Do you know how much the sales of Teslas, how many Teslas he has sold in the world? It is now the highest selling automotive car on planet Earth in the last year alone. How is he selling hundreds of thousands of cars a quarter without 0 marketing spend, ad spend? What the heck is happening? He's a master at this innovation journey, the buyer journey. Okay, fine. Tesla looks out of your league. Let's do another one. Again, today I'm all about cars. You can tell that I'm praying to God that I buy a car in 2025. So I'm all about cars. Let's do another one. Lamborghini. How many people have seen a Lamborghini advert? Aston Martin. Rolls-Royce. I recently found out how Rolls-Royce and Aston Martin actually do their buyer journey, and I laughed. Even Ferrari. These days, I understand that there are Ferraris. I'm sorry, honey. Even if you have the money, you cannot buy. What you can do is put yourself on a waiting list, and Ferrari will tell you, we'll get back to you. Because they select who buys. But that's Ferrari. Right now, there is no showroom where you can go to go and buy an Aston Martin or a Lamborghini. Even if you have the money, you cannot access it. Why? Where do you think they sell their cars? Aston Martin and Lamborghini. Can someone tell me? Where do they sell their cars? Maggie?
So I read somewhere that they sell their cars when people that are selling, is it private jet or where
Thank
they
you
sell
so much.
private jet or aeroplane?
Thank you so much. Thank you. So Aston Martin and Rolls-Royce decided that, look, our customer persona is not Dania. I'm sorry, it's not Ruth. It's not Peace, right? Our customer persona who's going to go on this journey, when their awareness of what's their jobs to be done, I need to move fast for meetings. They're not like my mom, I need to move fast around the city. For them, is I need to move fast around the world. I need to go have breakfast in London, dinner in Tokyo, and back to the US by whatever, right? I need to move fast around the world. So their own idea of transportation is global. So they said, when they had awareness, what do? Oh, they call their dealer, hey, I have to be faster. And the dealer says, yeah, oh, there's totally a way to do that. But it's not just one thing, it's a combination of it. So now they're interested. So where do they then go? They go to a jet showroom to find out the faster jets, not even cars. So they decided, why waste our time doing marketing spend with you guys on this call? We just went and made a deal with Boeing and all these guys that have private jet. Every time you have a jet showroom with these millionaires sitting down there taking coffee, have our car next to it. So the value prop is, yeah, you might get to the city fast, but you need a way to get to your meeting fast and in style. Buy my Rolls Royce. Full stop. That's why they're not going to go bankrupt for the next 100 years. How much have they spent in marketing? I'm trying to break this concept of, oh, any product or service I have to run marketing ads. I have to. Now, there is a place for that, but you need to know what exactly is your ideal persona interested in terms of the buyer journey, and build for them. And don't be shy. If it never requires you to do a flyer, that's okay. What's important is they have to get to action. This is why these days, every venture I'm involved in, I always tell the team when they're doing the strategy, I want a customer acquisition plan that gets me to spend nothing more than a single digit US dollar to acquire one customer. If I have to spend $10 or more to acquire one customer, I will tear up your plan and throw it away. Go back and do it again. As an innovator, you should be able to hack this. Every business. 4 years ago, again, Jonah is going to show you guys this. 4 years ago, we did this for business. We're trying to bring it to Nigeria again for cooking gas, and showed that we can acquire 2,000 customers within our first year. And when my team got selected to pitch to investors from Silicon Valley and Canada, I remember pitching this, and an investor from the US said, can you go back to your slide? How's your customer acquisition cost $6? But these people you want to acquire, marketing, market women and roadside restaurants, they need to see billboards. You have to spend money on billboards, on this, on that, on campaigns. I said, no, I'm not going to spend it. He said $6. And then I said, our financials. And I said, I've just signed a contract with the federal government of Nigeria, and they've given us access to 2 associations that between these 3 associations, they have 20,000 of my ideal customer personas as their members. And the association heads have said, Oluchi, when this thing is ready, please bring it, we'll push in our network. Marketing bots with a conversion rate of 10%. I'm going to hit my 2,000 in year 1. What was my cost of getting those 2,000 customers? $6. I need to grease the palms of the association heads and buy them breakfast. That's it. 0 ads, 0 flyers, 0 billboards. It is possible, but it requires elevating your thinking from the tools that you use for communication to the actual human beings, the journey they go through across each step. What is their jobs to be done? Where do they go to get that information they need to move to the next stage? Go in there at the cheapest possible cost, and you will convert them. Like someone said with the Volvo ad, it's not about the mechanics of it. It's about the emotions you make them feel. That's how they move across the journey and choose you. Emotions. Yeah? So that is really the buyer journey. The user journey, I didn't spend more time on the user journey because that is where we always start our conversations from in all of these trainings, and I am quite frankly tired. I'm tired of dealing with entrepreneurs and dealing with intrapreneurs who are just always talking about, okay, so when I get the customer, here's how I'm going to onboard them on my app. And our landing page is blah, 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 blah. And then this is how they use it first. And then this is how they monitor. And this is how they can give us feedback, and customer service will hit them, and then they can share with their friends. Everything I just said is pretty common sense, right? That is your user journey. Your user journey is after the person has taken action, they are now your customer. What are the steps that they go through? It is very important. What are the steps that they go through, right? Using your solution, product or service. How do they feel? What's their emotion? And how can you bring in features to make sure their emotions are happy? That is the user journey, to the point where they can give feedback and share. So when you add the buyer journey with the customer journey with the user journey together, you have your most important framework as an innovator. Guys, for the next, I've been staring at this customer journey for 14 years, and I'm telling you that every single year I learn a new thing about what it takes to move people across each of these phases. It is not easy if you really want to be obsessed with it, but it makes you better. For your buyer journey, it's a lot of what we would call growth hacking work. How do you mentally mess with people's minds to get them to the next phase? Some of you who just joined our team a few weeks ago, you probably joined a sales call that we had earlier this week, where it was a real sales call. But what did we do on the sales call for 1 hour? We got our prospects to be watching videos of Teslas with us. It was the weirdest thing ever. They're watching videos of Teslas. We're playing a game together, and they did not realize we were selling to them. It was only in the last 5 minutes that I showed them the product. And then I showed them the price, and 100% of them were like, damn, we want to pay for this. Oluchi, let's talk next week. Again, you learn more about it every single year, but you need to be obsessed with it. That is why I'm hammering it over and over and again. Do not treat this as just an exercise. Treat it as the foundational framework that guides your innovation journey moving forward. Learn about each step. What's the emotion and how do you mess psychologically with your target to get them to the place of action? And then when they become your customer, how do you keep messing with them to maintain stickiness of your product and make them happy so that they can share it? If you have this obsession, it will help you so much in your innovation journey. And I'm sure you'll learn this thing better than we have. And you would even write lots of papers about it. I'm excited to learn about what you're learning, right, as you go on this journey. So Jonah, if you can then zoom in so they see the whole template. The backbone is just everything I just said. Yep. So we'll zoom in and then we'll take questions. The backbone is everything I just said. And look at Jonah's the first row. Zoom into your column 1. So we see the rows, right? So this template tends to be our preferred in our team for any idea that we're starting, right? Product or service, doesn't matter. Fun fact, we did this for this program actually. Jonah has another mirror. He doesn't want to show you because there you know the predictions we've made about all of you. He has one for this innovation and entrepreneurship bootcamp. So where the first row is really the steps, Jonah, go down. The second row is you predicting, can you go now? You're predicting the actions that they take, right? I just explained about my mother. What's the actions that she takes when she's in awareness phase, right? Right? What do they do? What information do they look for? And what is that context? That context is so important, as Fubara said, right? So she's in awareness phase. She really just wants to vent, right? So where does she go to get to have this conversation and information? What is her context? I'm laughing because that context piece, man, this work is hard. That context piece, it may not be as important when you're talking about my mom, but if you're designing a solution for people in rural areas, please think about their context. Yeah, because maybe the place they go to when they're in awareness is the town square that is like 10 kilometers from their house, to sit down with other women and just complain about what is happening today. Why can't we move around? You better go and be in the town square, or at least help the town master in the town square have information about what you offer. Context is very important. Please go down. So you're going jobs to be done, their actions, then their needs and their pain points, right? We talked about, as innovators, we're looking for pain. So every step has pain. As my mom is going on awareness phase to call her son, right? To vent, it's difficult moving around in this country right now. What is her pain today? When to do that thing in awareness phase? That's what we're talking about. What is her pain? I can tell you one. She needs to pick up her phone and put international call credit because I am not in Nigeria right now. Do you see? So that is a pain, right? What is her pain? Even if she gets international call card or she's using WhatsApp, the network. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? She's calling me to complain about how difficult it is moving around Nigeria, and she can't even have a conversation with me because of the network signal. Do you understand? You have to understand this. Remember, the game is empathize. We're not saying you should solve it. We're saying you should understand it. When you understand it, you find opportunities for innovation. So how do you? The next thing is touch point. What part of the service do they interact with? Again, the touch point for my mother is probably her children, right? And then look at the final piece. That's my favorite. Customer feeling. What is their feeling? Use an emoji. I love emojis for this step. Use an emoji to express this. Look at it. Look at how frustrated she is. I want to do a touch point with my son, and yet I can't I can't even share with him how aware of a problem I am. Right? So this journey, this 4th layer just continues throughout your buyer and user journey. And what I always tell teams when I run design thinking, it's been a while now, when I run design thinking workshops, I tell teams, look, your goal as an innovator, you see all those emojis down there that are sad or meh, or like frustrated, sad, meh. Your job is to sit down with your team and design interventions that change every single emoji there to happy. If you can do that, that's a solution that has a good chance of winning in the market. It's that simple, right? So that's why we go on to opportunities. What can we improve or introduce with the goal of changing that sad emoji to happy, right? You go down again, Jonah. Okay, that's pretty much it. Okay. Oh yeah, process ownership is just you dividing in your team who is going to handle what step, right? But the real game is that opportunities place. What are we going to bring in to change that thing to happy, right? Again, it's all hypothesis. Until you go and validate it, then you know whether those things will really make them happy or just take them from yeah to meh. That's really the game, and that's it. This is really how you do the customer journey mapping for any idea that you have, whether you're an entrepreneur or you are an intrapreneur. You do this at work for all of your bosses, and anything they give you to do, you quickly run this process. I promise you, you will get double promotion in 6 months, because this is all employers are asking for today. They don't know this framework per se, but they know the outcome, which is I have a resource that just makes me smile. That's all I care about from people that I pay salary. I just want to smile. I don't want to be sad. The more you make me sad, the more I question your value to me. Make me happy, and every time I see you, I'm just happy. I don't know why I'm happy. I'm just happy, right? I'm going to keep you on my team, right? This is how you maintain it. Okay, so based on this, I'm going to pause here. Let the questions come. Nene, let's go.
Okay, thank you, Oluchi. And my question is, can you please describe what the awareness stage would look like for a customer that hasn't yet realized that they have a problem? So at this stage, they are not sad. They just don't know that they have this problem. Example, like fashion. They already have clothes. They don't need clothes, but then they see something cute and they want it. So that's a bit confusing for me.
Absolutely. I'm going to answer your question from two perspectives. I will answer it from a generic point of view, and then I will attempt to answer it from the fashion point of view. So what you just said is spot on. You're going to see for some products or services that your ideal customer persona, you don't have enough data to validate that they are actually in awareness phase. So they are in a stage before awareness state. Let's call it stage 0. The short answer to your question is that when you find yourself in that situation, it automatically means that you need to do some education first before they can go on the journey, right? Because the trick about education is that when they say ignorance is bliss. Exactly. When you do not know, you're living a pain-free life. The minute I educate you, all of a sudden you become aware of your pain. That's the point, right? And we've been there a couple of times. 3 years ago, we were trying to bring a product to market for first-time managers. So new managers, millennials and Gen Zs that are being promoted, right? And we did a lot of discovery work. We know that this is a pain. The data says it. We've interviewed dozens of HR executives and CEOs from not just Africa, but different continents. It is a problem. How do you empower first-time managers to succeed, right? You've given them a team. Now, how do you empower them? So we know it's real. Even the CEO said, oh my gosh, my team need this. But when we talk to the managers, they didn't seem to think that that's their problem. They didn't seem to think that attending a leadership program, most of them will tell you, well, I think I'm pretty smart. I know what to do with my team. It's just my bosses don't empower me to lead my team right. They don't give me the right budget. They don't give me the right tools. Some of them will tell you, I'm actually doing a great job. I'm like, if I ask the people reporting to you, would they say the same? Yeah, you can ask, right? There was just the people who actually need the thing did not realize that they need it, right? And so we were struggling with this for a while. Then I tapped a friend of mine in North America who's an expert at growth hacking and does this for Fortune 500 companies. I didn't tell him anything about this. I just gave him what we're struggling with. Within 1 week, he came back with a mind map of 1,000 connections. I'm like, what the heck is going on? He's like, Oluchi, I think I see your problem. I'm like, what? He said, you're trying to sell a product to people who are not aware that they need it. He said, and I've looked at everything you're putting on social media. I've looked at the brief that you sent to me and all. You're acting as though they're already in awareness phase. So you're doing the right things according to the buyer journey, but you're missing the step 0, which is education. So I said, what do you suggest, bro? It's like, oh, you have different ideas, suggestions. Run free webinars to educate them, right? And if you don't have time for webinars, create hooks. The general concept is a hook. Create a hook that does that thing. It educates them, and as soon as they realize they are aware of their problem, boom, you lock them into the buying journey. So what are some cool hooks? You know what we did? We created something called a horrible boss survey. This was at the time where in Nigerian Twitter, people were going on about horrible bosses, right? So we went, are you a horrible boss? And then we shared it with some people. Take the test. We created another one called, should you quit your job? Right? So you take the test, and then it goes, yes, you are a horrible boss. But if you don't want to remain a horrible boss, book a time and speak with us, right? Another example, should you quit your job? I'm always depressed. I don't want to get out of bed. My team, the people that report to me, I hate them. They don't listen to others. Oh yeah, you should totally quit your job. But if you don't want to quit your job in this economy, click and speak to us. So then that's an example, a practical example of how you can take people who are not yet in awareness phase through education, but in a fun way, gamifying it, so they then become aware, and then you lock them into the buying journey. Yeah. The other piece about fashion, I don't agree that people just buy because they're not aware they have a pain. That's an assumption. You're assuming that because I have clothes, right, I automatically don't have a pain. If I buy if I buy clothes again, it's simply because I just want to. I didn't have a pain. You're making an assumption. And it's ironic because you're a woman. And and you guys can never get enough shopping for clothes and shoes, especially shoes. I don't understand it. Right? Shoes. So it's ironic. But one thing I've learned being married, my wife always has a pain. Her wardrobe is full. But she will tell you, yeah, for this new phase that I'm in, I don't have the right clothes for this new country. I'm like, dude, it worked in the previous country. You can wear, no, Oluchi. I need to. So she has a pain. If I go tell her, you don't have a pain, you're just wasting my money, I probably won't eat tonight. She does have a pain. And as marketers, I have to work from that perspective. What is driving her to go shop for more clothes when she has new clothes? Whatever that is the awareness we're talking about. Maybe it's the awareness of her new environment, right? We just moved from Asia to Kenya. And she's like, yeah, it was working in Asia, Oluchi. It's not going to work here. I'm like, dude, you do realize when I married you, you're in Uganda, in Nigeria, like, go and get those older clothes. Oh my gosh, they're so old. See, clothes are old. They don't work for the cultural context here. These are all real variables to her that make her aware that they have a pain, that she has a pain. You see what I mean? But you hit a good nail on the head. Your ideal customer your customer who has a pain is not only the person who is not currently using the same solution or a similar solution. So it could be people that have never worn a clothes before, or it could be people that have clothes. It doesn't matter. The process still works. Does that make sense? Unless Nene only wants to sell her clothes to people that are running around butt naked. They've never worn clothes before. I don't know if we still have any of those groups of people left. Maybe in the Amazon they exist. So all the best to you. Right. Fubara?
Okay, thank you so much for the lecture, the class. This last part where Oluchi asked it kind of clicked in my head, because part of what we are doing in my team, we're trying to build something for people that are depressed. And having gone through it, one of the things, a lot of times people just don't understand why I'm saying that. One of the things that happened to me was when I knew, because I was reading books and I could relate with people that went through similar phases, so I had the awareness. But when I went for therapy section, there were questions they asked me that normally those things would not have meant anything to me. So, but from answering those questions, I was able to be more aware of what's the situation I was in then. And as we were building this, because I had that experience, I am trying to create that awareness using some of those questions. But the way you answered it now gave me a better perspective of how I could play with those questions, because I've really been trying to put my head around a lot of this. In this part of the world, we don't talk about it, and it's not something people want to discuss. But we experience this thing on a day-to-day basis, and we just feel it is life. Just keep pushing,
Yeah.
But there's a lot underneath. So, one question I wanted to ask: if you're carrying out the primary survey, like these questions now that you asked, okay, if your people reported to you are not okay, all of that, should those be part of the things we should ask during the primary survey, or we just go out and just get to know how they feel or what they think of having that kind of solution? I don't know if you.
No, I understand, and Fubara, thanks for that. So two things. First of all, well done, congratulations for coming through from that place. It's not easy. Definitely a real MVP. I've personally been very obsessed with what it takes to deliver positive mental health, especially in that part of the world, over the last decade, from very, very, very many personal experiences. And so I'm always eager to hear more about that story, right? Offline. And I support a team right now that they're giving tech-driven mental health solutions, right, to Africans. And so I know it's a big deal. Now, secondly, based on what you just said, that mental health piece, that's a fantastic place of where, like I said, education is needed. But the problem with the education before they get into awareness phase is that it should not seem like education, otherwise you lose them. That's why it's very, very tricky. So you need to be very good at this, right? It needs to be you leading them to a place where they then realize, I'm aware I have a problem, without them actually realizing you're leading them to that place, right? If you don't get that right, you lose them. They won't even enter the funnel, starting from awareness. So many techniques for that. Many techniques. Once had someone 2 years ago who reached out to me and said, oh my gosh, Oluchi, so sorry, there's a young lady, she killed herself, a friend of ours, and her roommate walked in before Nigerian, and they said, we just told her, it's been 2 days now, we told her to hold on, she's depressed, first daughter, everyone is leaning on her, she doesn't have a job and all of that stuff. And she's just like, my life is finished, right? And so I'm like, what do you guys want me to do? They said, well, you're a problem solver. I'm like, this one is bigger than me. So what I did was I called my friend, who's a therapist, and she came out of a session and she said, okay, Oluchi, for you, tell them to tell her to come see me. But they cannot tell her that she's coming to see a therapist, because she will not come, right? And because she doesn't think that there's anything wrong with her, or she will not admit. So instead, what I told them was, oh, guys, in just 2 hours, I turned back and said, hey, I just got her a job. So they literally helped her prepare her CV for a job interview. And my friend gets on the call and he's interviewing her. Tell me about you. And she really wore a suit and everything, thinking that she's in a job interview. And my friend was like, oh, the good thing was she actually studied psychology as her first degree many years ago, but how the country is, she never worked there. So my friend was like, hired, internship, starting salary. She was so excited. And actually got a job offer. And then my friend calls me back and says, okay, here's what I've noticed. It's okay. I hired her for an internship of 6 months. She didn't realize they just locked her into therapy of 6 months. That's how we did it, right? So you just have to be creative in businesses like that, right? Finally, to your point, right? To the question that you asked about the validation question. So if you heard Jonah yesterday, he did say that we would need one more session, and that session is just for teaching you how to craft these questions, right? So that we can then launch you guys into the world over the holidays into next year, right? To go and test those questions with real human beings, right? We knew that today we will really just stop at this, right? And then we'll need you to go. We did one more session to show you how to do the questions, but it's not difficult. It's once you master these steps, what you're doing is, you see that line there of opportunities. How can we make this thing better for you, right? In problem validation, those research questions you're talking about, everything you've done from row 1 to row 4, you want to go test it. So for example, you want to have questions under awareness, right? Remember, you have hypotheses. You have a hypothesis of what a person's activities are when they're in awareness. You have a hypothesis of how they feel. You have a hypothesis of what their need and pain is. You have a hypothesis of what their touch point is. So you want to draft out questions for all of that to go and validate it from them, right? Let them tell you, like, truly these things are real. I really feel sad. I really feel happy. I usually call my son, or I don't call my son. Awareness, you're done. You can come up with like many questions for just awareness, and then go on to interest. Do the same thing, right? How you disseminate this now, it's the stuff that you guys know. You can disseminate this through surveys online or through focus groups, right? Where you gather 5 people in a room and you're looking at these questions and asking them as somebody's answering it on your team. You can do it through one-on-one interviews. So usually what we do in these boot camps, we tell you, when we did this last year, we told them in 2 weeks, you have to go talk to 200 people. They almost died. Each group, you have to go talk to 200 people. But hey, come on, there's 5 of you in a group. So, it's not a problem. And then what I said was, out of the 200, at least 150 has to be surveys answered by people online. And then the remaining 50 interviews. Right? So if you divide it, 50 of you can do 10 interviews each. Not so bad, right? And so when they came back, because the challenge with just surveys that people answer themselves is that there's some context you might not get. So they just take the multi-choice. But when you're interviewing, they take an option, but you can also jot down the context, context that you may have missed in your assumptions. You see what I mean? So that's why the balance of surveys and interviews is always recommended. Now, the trick with problem validation, and this is where it slightly deviates from whatever you've done in school, and I don't like to call it primary research, because when I call it that, people go, hey, I've done that in school. And I'm like, no, actually, no, because problem validation is different from solution validation. You will do the same thing in solution validation phase in the design workshop. You will go back with questions, but what's the difference? The difference is the nature of what you're asking. For problem validation, you are only asking to validate the problem. You're pretending as though you don't know the solution. You don't know that line there that says opportunities. You should never bias yourself or bias your audience with solutions. Let me give you an example how this thing. Some years ago, we were running a problem validation thing, and we wanted to go validate that product I was talking about for cooking gas. And then one of the teams I was trying to sign a contract with, by the way, in all of this, we didn't have the solution. We're still even just building it 2 years later. And we've signed contracts with the World Bank, the Nigerian government, and microfinance banks since 2 years ago. All we did was this, no solution. Yeah. So when we caught in the World Bank team, one of the things they told me was, hey, Oluchi, we are also trying to do a program and we need to do problem validation. Can your team handle? We have some questions. No, they said we want to do primary research. But since you already have guys in the field doing primary research, can they also get questions for us? So I said, no offense, but you're just going to stress me. And they said, no, we have good questions. I said, guys, send a list of questions. And then I got my analysts to look at it using the mindset I'm telling you. When we reworked the question, I sent it back. I got a call from the team leader. He's like, hey, Oluchi. Like now I have to scream at people at the office. Like, what were they thinking? Why? It's not that the questions were wrong. It's that people make this, a lot of times make this error. They said I should do surveys, but you don't realize where your bias is coming into the survey. So for example, here's problem validation. If you want to validate price, in the action phase, here's what a lot of people would do. Would you be willing to pay $50 for this pain to be solved? The minute you put that in a problem validation survey, it is no longer a problem validation survey. You've already biased somebody. Here's what a problem validation survey looks like. How much would you be willing to pay for this pain to be solved? It's the same thing, different mindset. Yeah? This is why it's tricky. And this is why we have to look at those questions very carefully. You must always pretend when you're in this phase of the innovation journey, you don't know the solution. Don't bias people. So rather than say, would you pay $30 for this? Say, how much are you willing to pay? And then you can give an option, $0 to $20, $20 to $50, $50+, right? Because we've seen situations where you say, would you be willing to pay $50 for this? And they say yes. And then you're so happy, yay, I'm going to be rich. People, but what if 80% of your respondents say they will happily pay $100+ for this? You've just missed an opportunity to be a billionaire. See what I mean? Yeah. So that's the only catch, Fubara. You want to do your primary surveys in line with the stages here, but also you want to stay away from the biases from a solution point of view. Keep it problem focused in this phase. Later, you will go back with other questions about your solution, still using this buyer journey and user journey, right? But not in the early stages of the innovation journey. Yeah, Dorcas, and then Maggie. Dorcas, are you there? Hello.
Sorry, I was talking. I didn't unmute myself. Good morning, Oluchi. Thank you so much. All right.
Yes.
My question is actually from this awareness, interest, desire, and that's the buyer's journey. Because in step 13 or so, it says the speaker said, don't drop your price for anything. Make sure you're not dropping the price because the customer says so. And then in the process whereby the customer is now aware that they have a problem that they need to solve, and then you made them become aware of it, and then in the process of taking action, that's process of deciding and taking action, because you're not dropping the price for them, they have to take the business to another person ready to drop that price. What do you think we can do in that situation? What can be done?
Thank you for that, Dorcas. The problem with that is the question itself. The problem is in the question. The fact that you find yourself in a place where you are talking to people and your price seems to be a mismatch with what they're willing to pay already shows me two key things. Number one, you're either targeting the wrong people. Number two, you did not follow the innovation journey. Because let's start with number two. If you follow what I just said, where you actually did this, had hypothesis, right? Went and did problem validation. You didn't have any idea of a price. You asked them, this pain that you have now realized you have, how much would you be willing to pay for the pain to leave you? And they told you how much that is. Then you went back into design phase that we're going to show you in the design bootcamp and designed your solution and put the price that they told you they're willing to pay for it, and then took back your solution to them at the price that they told you they're willing to pay for it. Why would you have a problem when they suddenly don't want to pay? Do you see the point? Yeah. So whenever you find yourself, and it's a real thing, you've just said, we have one company where we're starting to do that. And I know why we're starting to do that, because we set a price arbitrary. And now we're trying to push the price on our intended target audience, which is why I had to use other techniques to get the audience to be so excited and aware of the pain so that they take my price. The reason I had to push it was not because I don't want to do what I just said, was because I'm limited. I have a supplier for that product, and the supplier is not going to give me that product anything less than X. So unfortunately, I didn't have leeway to ask how much are you willing to pay for this. You understand? I had a minimum X. That's the only reason in that business I didn't take this approach. But normally, any new idea we're building, I never build a product. I go and put that price because the market is hard, because the economy is hard. No, I will always do problem validation first and empathize, right? Get them to tell you how much that pain is worth to them. That's feedback. Remove the arrogance. If 80% say they're only going to pay $20, my sister, go and build your product for $20 if you want to run your business. Remember when we did the coffee chat, Jonah said, what is the singular most important thing for a business? And people did different options. He said, profits. If you don't make money, you don't have a business, right? So that's the one scenario. It's like you haven't gone from the problem, how much are people willing to pay for the problem, walk backwards to design your solution around that range that they said they're willing to pay for. If you do that, you won't have that problem, right? The second scenario where you have that problem is, no, it's always this first scenario. Then if 80% of your respondents say they're willing to pay $20 and you've told yourself, I cannot afford to produce this product or service at $20, I'll run at a loss, right? My product is a $100 product. Then congratulations, my sister. Go back to the very beginning. Who is your ideal customer? You're targeting the wrong people, right? Clearly, the people who you went to reach for your surveys are all telling you they only pay $20, but it doesn't work for you, right? You can't force it on them. So that's $100. Go look for who is going to pay your $100. You're targeting the wrong people. Go back to your targeting. Does that make sense, Dorcas?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. There's always somebody that will pay $100 for the same thing that someone who will only pay maximum $20 for. There's also someone that will pay $1,000, by the way. The number of times in those days, my early days in consulting, people will come and tell you, Oluchi, I want a plan to be $100 million company. How much are you willing to pay? 50,000 naira, or the equivalent of in those days of what was like $20. And I'm like, I don't understand. My personal favorite is the guy who came and said, I can your team help me build an app that will rival YouTube? What's your budget? $200. What's your budget? $200. I was like, it's possible. So my official answer to those things is, oh, with $200 you can get a YouTube app. With $1,000 you can get with $10,000 you can get a YouTube app. Absolutely. If you have $50, you can. They're like, really? I said, yes. Yeah. If all you have is $50, I will call one or two developer interns who are looking for side hustle, and you deal with them. They give you a YouTube app for $50. You get it. So, but can you lead it all to you? No, I won't. But I like you, so I'll do that connection, and that's it, right? So you can get a $10 business plan, $100 business plan, $100,000 business plan. The point is not about the cost. The point is who is your target customer and how much are they willing to pay for the pain that they have. Then you work backwards. So how much can you spend in terms of your cost? Does that make sense, Dorcas?
Yes, it does. It does, really does. Thank you.
All right, Maggie, final question.
Okay, so thank you. So my question is also around what you just spoke about. So during last week when we were watching the video, the man, Mr. Bill, he said that when you want to price a product, you price it based on the value you're bringing, not based on the cost and and how much profit you want to make out of it. So my question is, how do you balance this value thing and also what the customer is willing to pay? Because most times, especially Nigerians, we just have a way of devaluing things. When somebody, let me use an example. You know what you're bringing to the table, but is this someone that is pricing? It's just like most women do in the market, something that that is what, like that is what it, let's say for example 1,000 naira. You don't start pricing 800 naira or 200. So that thing, how do you balance it? Because when you leave people, they can just give you price, like they won't tell you the price they want to pay. So they won't tell you the price that they want to pay based on the value they perceive they are going to get. they're going to tell you the price they're going to pay based on what they have. And most times it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't connect, it doesn't really work. So how do you balance that value thing and also what they can afford?
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for that, Maggie. Great question. Can you, two things. One, do you remember when I said in our first session, the issues that make it so difficult doing innovation in Africa, one of it was financial exclusion, where people are poor. And it comes across throughout the entire buyer and customer journey, right? The fact that it's not that they hate you or they don't see the value of your stuff, but they're just going to bring it down to what their disposable income really is, right? And this is really a big problem for us in the intellectual services, right? Where you offer consulting services, business process services, marketing services. People really don't know how to how to pay you for what you're worth. We are not yet there. I found that my most difficult clients are Africans. Jordan knows. We're doing stuff with some Americans, and we don't have this problem. We really don't. Like, we just agreed we're going to give you XYZ service. When we finish the work, we invoice, but they pay. If they're 1 day late, they even beg. I say, so sorry, Oluchi, we had an issue with our bank. We don't have that problem. We are trying to do this work in Africa. It's not just Nigeria. Nigeria, Uganda is the same problem. First of all, they stress you before you even sign a contract because they all want consulting work that's going to give you make you $100 million company, but you don't want to pay up to $1,000 for that plan because and I always get this all the time. It's not just a business plan. It's not just a business plan. I can do it. Guys, I'm showing you all of the frameworks that go into our thinking before we even write the first page. As someone is telling me I can do a business plan in 2 days, Oluchi. I think you're just making it 12 weeks because you want to charge me all of this money, right? So I hear you absolutely. It's a real struggle. The two things that I would say, number one is your definition of value. Value is the inverse of pain. So when I said, when Bill Olet says, price it according to your value, he's saying exactly the same thing I'm saying. Price it according to your estimate of that pain, how much that pain is worth to the person, which is in line with what I just said a few minutes ago. You're doing this problem validation surveys to ask the person, how much do you think the pain is worth to you? What you're trying to establish is the price of the pain. Like, how much is this person willing to pay to solve the pain? Whenever you come with the solution and say, how much are you willing to pay for this solution? You're going to find 100% that situation you're saying, where people start pricing you down. But when you're not talking solution and you're just talking pain, right? Are you serious? This headache, what does it cost you? I lost my first husband because he was tired of me having migraines every day for 1 year. I was doing my master's. I had to drop out. Now, because of that, I can't get a good job. I'm selling market on the road. When they finish that, by themselves, they're telling you all of that. So you're calculating how much that pain is. And you're like, okay, so how much if I gave you a solution, any solution that, or rather, how much would you pay for anything that will remove this headache? I will pay $100,000 because that was the cost of my school fees, plus the cost to bring my husband back to the table, plus whatever. Okay, thank you. I'll see you again next week. Next week, I'm coming up with a solution and I'm pricing $100,000. Full stop. So the concept of pricing according to value you're bringing is according to the estimate of the pain. And so you're doing this research to find out how much they estimate the pain is, not how much they value your solution. Leave the solution side. Talk about the pain. How much do you value the pain? If you've done the interview properly, where you're talking about pain the way I talked about it, and they're expressing themselves about how deep the pain is, they'll tell, I'll pay any amount of money. They don't realize when they say it. I'll pay any amount of money for this pain to just stop. Really? No problem. Next time I'm coming to you with a $1 million solution. You said any amount of money. That's how you lock them into. That's how you lock them into a price point that they can't get out of. Provided they were part of designing that thing with you, and you come back with a price point that is related to what you guys estimated as the value of the pain, right? You do that, you wiggle your way out of this thing. But then in some situations where even when you do that, the person doesn't even know the estimate of the pain, right? They're just telling you, I don't know, like it's just painful. what I often do is help them calculate, like I just said. Okay, so you said you dropped out of school. How much was your school fees? So you just lost $100,000 like that. They say yes. So I'm writing it down. You said your husband left you. So you just lost your husband like that. I'm writing it down. I'm putting it down to dollars. So I help them calculate the pain, and then I push it back to them before I leave the problem call. That, are you telling me this headache has cost you approximately $500,000 in the last 1 year? Yes, so my brother. Thank you. So if I come back and tell you I have a solution for you for your $500,000 pain, and all you need to do is pay $10,000, that's a steal. You pay $10,000 to solve $500,000. That's amazing. See what I mean? Yeah, that's how you do it. Especially in Africa, where you have that situation, we are the people who should not be going to the market with an already big solution and the pricing and pushing it in front of people, right? Because we're going to have that feedback here you're talking about, where you've already built a thing for $10,000 and they're telling you they only pay $200 for it. You just want to shoot yourself. So don't go build anything until you get the estimate of how much the pain is and work backwards to design your solution in that envelope. Yeah, Maggie, sound good?
Yes, sir.
Joe, now all the questions are coming every role and right and center. Gift. I mean, it's good. Please, we prefer the questions to silence. Gift.
Okay, good morning. Okay, you cite an example of you, providing a solution for someone that has an headache. And you said, and the person, when you did your estimate, the person said the person is willing to pay like $100 for this particular problem. So when you bring the solution and the person said, okay, I'll first pay $50 for this problem. So if I see a good result, then I'll pay the rest. What do you do in that type of situation?
Right. So the type of situation where you end up having to change your payment structure, your pricing structure to installments, essentially, right? Get them installments, pay some now, pay the rest. Okay. So there are three scenarios where you get to that place, right? The first one is, and again, if you follow this buyer journey, you would have already predicted that, by the way. If you follow this buyer journey, if your customer is the one telling you they want to pay some now and pay that, then you really didn't do this work in depth, right? Because if you did this work in there, you know their persona, you know their reality and all, right? You would know that part of what it takes to move them to the next level is let them pay something, taste it, and then they'll pay the balance. Do you understand? So you must go into that with a hypothesis that is what they want, right? So that's the first thing. You need to have it as a hypothesis. There's a whole step in action where you are actually, when you're designing, in Bill Olet stuff, you see how to price your product. We do that in our design bootcamp, how to price, a different pricing mechanism. So if installments is your design, have it as a hypothesis. That's number one. Number two is, so number one scenario is if you intentionally designed it that way as a hypothesis. Number two is if you find out in the journey, as you're doing the journey assessment, that this is the persona that wants to taste something, get value first before they'll be comfortable to pay. Do you see how I said taste something? It's not every time that pay now, taste it, and our pay balance works. In fact, in our experience, you want to run away from that situation as much as possible. Like, I don't mind, pay now, then pay me again a few weeks later before the program starts. I really don't mind that. But pay now, taste it, see whether it works, and then pay the balance. Statistically, it never ends in joy. It never ends in joy. There's maybe 10% of chances where it ends in joy, right? If you follow this process as an innovator, you already know that it gives them value. They know that it's going to give them value. Why? Because you didn't design it in your room. You designed it with them. They told you what value is, right? We've seen situations, the goal here is by following problem validation, coming back with prototype validation, you are not only going to get sales before you even build a solution or give to them. For many people, you get signups. because they know what value is. So you're not going to have that problem as often, right? But if you do have that, if you do have a persona that wants to taste something before they sign up, that's what this bootcamp is here for. Your product, your solution validation, your prototype validation is already a test to them. What you're saying is that they want to taste what value feels like. Nobody says go and give them the solution to use it for free. You can simulate value without a real solution. That's a prototype, right? You can do a prototype and they experience it and go, oh my God. But you see, in your books, that's not MVP. That's still prototype. That's still in your design phase. That's still prototype. You have not spent money to build a solution yet. What they want is value. They want to feel it, right? Before they convert, no problem. We will simulate it for you. Which is why, as you heard me say earlier, trying to get executives into a paid program, and yet we bring them into a free workshop to simulate it for them, right? It's not the main program. No, I haven't spent any money on that program. All we just did is design the experience for them to have an immersive, oh my God, this is amazing. When do I pay? My point is, you want to stay away from going to go and build your thing, spending money building your thing, only for somebody to tell you, I will pay 50% now. When I now experience the thing, I will pay you the balance. You've already spent the money.